How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to Chaos Head. So, yeah, we just got rescued from being literally beaten down, like maybe to death. I don't know. We were being attacked by just random punks who targeted us. I don't know if they were sent after us specifically as hitmen or if it was like, 'cause it sounds like Shogun is like doing stuff. I don't know. This game's gotten a lot more confusing, and not in like a bad way, but in a way where like I had people commenting asking like, oh, what are your thoughts about stuff? It's like I normally would have been sharing my thoughts along the whole time, but I don't even know what to think anymore. Like that's the problem, is that there's so much that is unreliable that it's difficult to form theories because it's like there's no substance to my theories at this point. I've got a lot of thoughts going on, and I'll try and express them more often, but the problem is that they're just as likely as literally just a rabbit out of the hat type of situation, where the game set itself up in a really fun way where it's making you question and doubt and wonder about everything, but it's done it so much that it almost makes it so that there's no real valid way to make a lot of theories about what's happening. Like, I know that the electromagnetic like weirdness is somehow tied to like the malleability of the dimensions. Like I understand that that's a connection, but I mean beyond that, like what am I supposed to do with that knowledge, you know? The other thing I can think of is the fact that like because I played Steins Gate and the way the Steins Gate viewed the multiverse, I'm wondering if this dimensional theory operates off of similar things, where essentially what these delusions are is that they're pulling like items, situations, and like phases from other world lines into this world line, which is a really interesting concept because the only one who was really hopping world lines in Steins Gate was Okabe, and he wasn't even technically hopping, he just was retaining his memories, and that so his memories were coming from the world line to world line. Instead, this is literally bringing items and aspects and things from different world lines to this world line, which is really cool too. So it's that's a fun concept, but again, it's just putting up this picture where it's hard for me to really get nitty gritty with my thoughts. We'll see how it all plays out. I'll try again to be a bit more open. I just also don't want to talk just to talk. If I don't have a thought, I won't really talk too much. I'm not going to force it. But I understand it might be frustrating because it's like you want to know what I'm thinking because probably really important stuff's happening and like you're wondering if I'm catching it or if I'm missing it. And it's like I might be catching it, but it might just not be leaving an impression, or it might not feel significant because I can't tell what's significant at this point. Yeah, we'll get to it. But I guess the most significant thing that happened last episode is transfer student just came out of nowhere and apparently saved us. It looks like she literally like maybe murdered those guys. If she didn't, she definitely sent them to the hospital. But it's funny because like the way it was describing it, like it didn't sound like a sword. Like you feel like you cut someone with a sword, it's like it's like slash, 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 and like you have like body parts falling all over the place. No, it talks about them like they'd been beaten, like with something like more blunt weapon type thing. So I wonder if her sword isn't actually a sword, but like, I don't know, an oversized hammer or something, which would be kind of fun. But yeah, we'll get to know her. Hopefully her name will stick, because we've had such little interaction with her that despite the fact that she's told me her name like 3 times, it's never stuck at all. She's just like the transfer student right now. So yeah, well, I mean, Taki says talk to her like that too, so that doesn't help. But yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, I guess the other thing that people were mentioning is like, what do you think about Rimi working with Shogun? And I feel like we knew that, I thought. Like, I didn't feel like that was a big reveal. I thought the biggest reveal was that Shogun was hanging out at the hospital, but I don't know. At this point, he seems like he can teleport. He can be on rooftops. He can be in the middle of an empty like scramble station when like technically everyone is there. Him being in a hospital, I feel like that's not significant. It really, like, it just may be like a place where they met up. Maybe he is physically there. That would make sense for someone who's in a wheelchair to be in a hospital, but it doesn't seem like it's very limiting. The fact that Rimi's working with him directly, I mean, I'd love to know why, but she's clearly, even in that conversation, she wants to protect Taku, which I think is kind of heralding this idea that she is, like, I think she's a manifestation of, whatever the girls, like the Sierra-tan, like his like little action figure, because like they both have pink hair and they're very similar in builds, except like, you know, Rimi's like a real person in a way. I think that she's like a friend he kind of materialized. Because remember the whole idea about how the flower bed appeared and everyone was just like, oh yeah, the flower bed's always been there. I think his friend, you know, the guy who like is the womanizer, he acted like, oh, we've been friends with Rimi since we were in school, but it actually would make sense if he pulled Rimi out of a dimension and made her kind of manifest in his life, like kind of in alignment with all these like cases. That's when, so that she came here. So like she got introduced to the timeline and she is now a part of it, even though she is a creation of his delusion. So I think she's at least modeled after Sierra-tan, if not supposed to be her Sierra, but like, because doesn't Sierra as a character have like an alter ego? Like Sierra is her like magical girl name, but she has like an actual name too, like when she's not dressed up, Sailor Moon style. Yeah, so it could be just Rimi. But yeah, she's working with Shogun. We'll just see what that's all about. I think she still wants to protect us, but she also seems to be leading to helping with Shogun, which is odd too, though, because remember there was a time where we were about to call the D sword, like he was like picturing it in his head and he almost got close to it and she like interrupted that process. She doesn't want him to do that, even though Shogun clearly does. So that's something odd there, but we'll have to figure that out later. I imagine we'll get more information soon, but for now, let's see what this transfer student's all about. See if she'll actually like talk more than 3 words. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go. As soon as we reached the main street, the transfer student let go of my hand. We hadn't run very far, but she was already out of breath. I mean, that's, okay, girl, you gotta be careful of that. Like, if Taku has more energy than you, like, that's bad. Like, you're very small, obviously, but, like, he, like, lives perpetually in his house playing on his computer. Well, I guess, I don't know. Now, these two feel like a good match for each other. If nothing else, the fact that they cannot communicate. Actually would be a terrible relationship, but it'd be really funny to watch them on a date. Could you imagine? They just would just sit there awkwardly making weird noises at each other all the time. Like this. We both fell silent. Maybe the transfer student was just as bad at talking as I was. Oh, you just noticed. No, that didn't matter right now. What I needed to do first was figure out what the heck just happened. I'd been being harassed by those DQNs, and then they picked a fight with me. Then I must have passed out, but how long had I been unconscious? Alright, delusion time now? Ah, interesting. Oh, right! I forgot about the new voice, the new psychopath that's in our brain. About 5 mini-minutes. There was again. I'd heard it again. Alright, positive or negative? Positive or negative? We need positivity in our life, even if it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. This game, last time was real risky. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but we're doing it. I thought someone knew I was nearby and was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't see anyone that fit that description. Dang it, where were all these auditory illusions coming from, and why were they all happening today? Not an illusion at all? Wait, is that her? Wait a minute. Is she talking to us through our head? That would be interesting. I see, it was all a delusion. Of course, that includes the bloody DQNs from earlier too. It isn't a delusion. It had to be a delusion. It's just like Sierra-tan, my waifu who lives only in my head. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's just her. Holy crap, is that... What? Oh, that's cool. Wouldn't it be hilarious if she's communicating with his brain, like telepathically, right? So that's her mental voice is just really cutesy, but she doesn't communicate vocally very well, so she could use this brain-to-brain stuff. And then when she does that, what if she also could hear Sierra-tan's voice? So she's like, whoa, there actually is a person talking to you. What's that? Okay. Sierra-tan's to my waifu, nothing changed in that front. Besides, I don't have any memories of some dumb blonde character named Kozupii. Then who's talking? No way. Could it actually be the timid transfer student standing in front of me? When I thought that, the transfer student gave a small nod. Oh, please say that's real. Please say that's real. She might be my favorite character now, because that's so cool. Huh, there's just no way. What just happened that had to be just a coincidence? Maybe I'm mistaken. It just looked like she nodded at me. There's no way any of this is true. I'm not a telepath. I'm not even close. Okay, do the true telepath test. Say like, all right, I'm thinking of a number, and have her hold up that many fingers. What the heck is an ooh yeah? For some strange reason, the transfer student looks sad. I don't know, bro. It's because she's pretty blatantly talking to you. Dang it, now even I'm getting somewhat depressed. If what you say is true, Kozupii, then you prove you're the transfer student. What are your measurements? Yeah. Yeah. So you can't answer that. That means you really are just a delusion. Right. Well, then give me your bust size. Just a general estimate's fine. Also, why would that be believable, dude? Like, I get, like, trying to find proof. Feel like you could do better than this, though, because, bro, if it's in your brain's aware of her. You'll just describe her to yourself. Like, that's a very invalid test. You need to get her to do something that you can only communicate through your thoughts. Like I said, holding up a specific number of fingers, maybe 3 in a row. The conversation unfolding in my brain is getting way too perverted. Maybe it was time to dial it back a bit. 73 centimeters. You know, the baby talk is going to be a big downside, though, unfortunately, because that's, questionable at best. Is it true that a new student's chest is flat as a board? So that's part consistent, at least. Incidentally, I'm partial to tiny breasts, too. Oh, she's so gosh. What is happening? For some reason, the transfer student face was deep scarlet. Her already petite body got tinier and tinier. She made herself small. This is a coincidence. It was just a coincidence that the voice and her reaction turned sync and not a proof of anything. Well, yeah, but I have no way of knowing your actual bust size. I'm sure you'd just ask someone to arrest me if I tried to measure you myself. Okay then, how about your birthday? November 13th? Nice. Well, there's no way for me to confirm that's true either. If I could only go on a whim up to a 3D girl I'd never spoken to before and ask her, hey, what's your birthday? I'd be a normie a long time ago. Bro, you're so bad at this. When I thought that, the transfer student that had been hanging her head suddenly started fishing around her bag. She then pulled out something out from inside it and thrusted it toward me with tears in her eyes. Aww. It was a student handbook, one that was practically brand new. Upon flipping open the cover, I saw a photo of the transfer student's face, the name Arihara Kozue. Kozue was her date of birth. But out of the 3, what had really caught my attention was the date of birth written there. It was November 13th. Thank you! She's like, thank goodness. Oh right, I should check the name. The transfer student's name, according to her student handbook, is Arihara Kozue. Kozupii. Oh, I mean, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I'd be like, to be fair, who's ever heard of this happening? Could this somehow not be a delusion? The voice is her? Nishijo-kun, daijoubu? I don't know. We were long ago not okay. Like, we've left okay in the freaking past. I just realized my microphone's like in front of my face a bit. The transfer student, her head hanging downward, glanced up at me and pointed at my face. Her fingertip was trembling. Uh-oh. I touched my hand to my face. The bottom of my nose is slimy. My nose is bleeding. The transfer student offered me a tissue. I took it from her and wiped away the blood, but was still feeling very uneasy. The transfer student is...
Kozupii だよ.
Kozupii isn't moving her mouth. She isn't talking. Why can't I hear her voice?
心の声なのら.
It's the voice of her heart. Okay, sure. Well, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. Enough of that obnoxious speaking style. I can't stand it when people do that IRL. Wait, can you hear my inner voice too? Bro, you've been talking to her this whole time with your inner voice.
聞こえるよ.
Oh, that's... I am so sorry. You do not want to be rattling around in this head.
普通に話さないのなんで?
Dude, you are one to talk.
恥ずかしいし.
Oh, I know how you feel. I'm like that too. When I said that, she scurried around me like a chipmunk, glancing at me, then started walking toward the station by herself.
ここ離れた方がいいと思う.
Uh-oh. Why? Confused, I followed her. Are we being followed? As I walked, I noticed something. There was a stabbing pain in my side. The pain throbbed with every step I took, so I was forced to stop. I gripped my side and took a breath. There were people everywhere. I hated Shibuya with a burning passion. I felt like everyone I passed by was laughing at me, and I felt like everyone was watching me. I felt like everyone knew my face. Don't look at me. Don't laugh at me. I want to find somewhere I can get away from it all. I need a place to rest.
ほいじゃあいいところがあるならご案内します.
Okay. The energy in Kozumi's voice now is stark contrast to the few times we saw each other at school before. And even though she doesn't talk IRL, her inner voice has, energy to spare, say the least.
わあ、今うるさい女って考えた.
I guess he I'm gonna think like a girl who's annoyed. I forgot that. I mixed up the buttons. The problem with playing with multiple visual novels isn't me. I don't have a problem keeping track with the storylines of multiple games at the same time. That's actually pretty easy for me. The trouble is that each one seems to have there's some variation in the controls. Buttons that'll do different things. Most of the time, spacebar makes the UI disappear. But occasionally, like in this one, it's not spacebar's backspace. Spacebar's continue forward, which is unfortunate. I just like this pouty face on her. I think it's cute. But being able to talk to her in my head is convenient, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying. Come to think of it, I'm accepting this stuff pretty easily, despite the fact that I'm not sure how the hell it actually works. Well, to be fair, bro, at this point, you'd be dumb if you didn't, because you've got ample evidence that it's really happening. So you accept that based on the evidence that you've seen and work your way from there. I see. What's the saying? After you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. I think that's a Sherlock Holmes quote. But I mean, that's the thing. Is despite how awkward that whole conversation was, this seems to be happening. So let's just go with it. Is this really a genuine, real-life psychic power?
やっぱりコズピーのこと気味悪いよね.
No, well, kinda. But frankly, everyone's a little creepy.
こんなの普通じゃないし.
I'm not bothered by the fact that you're not normal. It's just I've met all kinds of weirdos recently. But you, Kozupii, you talk kind of funny, sure, but you're not scary, and you're not denpatir. If anything, I prefer this.
そう言ってもらえるとうるうるってなっちゃうのら.
I wonder, so I'm thinking about this, it's really an odd question. So I've talked about this before, because it's interesting to me. People have different ways of thinking, right? I think they found out that a third of people or 2/3 of people think in a monologue, kind of like a character in the game does, where he's having his thoughts and it's words in his head, he's talking in his own mind, that's the way he perceives his thoughts. Some people even see words in their heads when they're talking, right? But then there's another group that's kind of a minority, not so small it's unheard of, but it's definitely a smaller portion, which is the one that I fall into. Which is, I do not think in words. I think in pictures, and I think in visuals. I can, in my head, I'll hear voices in a way, but it's memories. And then if they're not memories, it's artificial memories, where I will, like if I'm reading a book, I will have voices for each of the characters in my head, like the way that they'll talk. And so I'll read their text and I'll hear the voice in my head. It can be very emphasized by like listening to an audiobook, or if I watch a movie version of the book and I really like it, then the characters in that story will take on the same voice or similar voices to what I liked. Or if I don't like what I heard, I just make up my own. But I love audiobooks for that reason too, because they help give voice to things where I don't have to kind of make them up as I go. So and part of that thing that's like fun about that is like I'm very good about like picturing things, putting pieces together, and kind of like doing world building and imagining, and like I make up like movies. I have very vivid dreams too. Like my dreams are fantastically vivid. So like kind of scarily vivid, actually. My nightmares aren't even like nightmares. Some people have true nightmares where it's like things are hunting you down and attacking you. I don't have to have that. I just have to have situations that are kind of scary because they feel so real and tangible. Like I'll feel temperature and touch and sensation in my dreams, and so it doesn't have to ratchet it up very hard for it to be horrifying. But long story or the short of it is like I think in pictures, I think in visuals. And I don't have a narrative voice in my head. Like, talking right now, the sentences I'm coming up with, I don't see them in my head or hear them in my head like a text. You're basically hearing exactly what I'm thinking in the moment, but I formulate my thoughts in the form of pictures and narratives. And so I have a concept of exactly what I'm going to be saying, but I can't tell you, like, there's a script of any form. Like, in fact, if I try to work from a script, if the script is too specific, I just bumble around and struggle because I'm constantly like having to read it rather than just going off of the way my mind thinks and works. So it's very hard to articulate exactly what it's like being in my head. So I wonder if Kozupii was talking to me, could she? Because she's hearing his dialogue, his inner monologue, and responding to it. But I don't have an inner monologue. I have visuals. So would her conversation with me be a lot harder? Now, it might work better because I could do things like picture a specific individual in my head, and she would be able to recognize them on sight because she'd have a visual representation of my memory. But having a conversation like this, I don't know if it'd be possible. I'd have to concentrate on it because it's the same process I do for like spelling. I've always been terrible at spelling and grammar because the rules of spelling and grammar are bizarre to me. And when I think of a concept, like my favorite example is a mountain. Like if someone says, hey, think of a mountain, I think of literal mountains. Like mountains I've like seen or grown up with, or what I define as mountains, or things that left an impression on me that are literal mountains. And then you tell me to spell a mountain. I can't think of a mountain. I actually have to think of the word and have to bring up the memory of the word in my head and try to recreate how it's spelled based on my memory of seeing it in print. So that means if I've never seen a word, I really am unlikely to be able to spell it correctly. And even if I have seen a word, if it's like mountain, which has a very strange vernacular spelling in English, I usually misspell that because it's weird and I don't use it often enough to like have it like perfectly memorized. And so it's very interesting how I think, and like imagining somebody who can read surface thoughts and hear my own thoughts in my head and try and use them to communicate with me is odd. I think I'd have to stretch myself and focus on like picturing words in my head to actually communicate with her properly. So that's really interesting. Genuinely would be fun to meet somebody who could do this just because I'd be curious to see how that would work for someone like me. Anyway, rambly episode today. I'm sorry. Yeah, see, that's the problem. People in comments saying like, oh, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear more of your questions. Like, hey, you're getting it. Now we're going to go through like 20 minutes of content on the video, and it's going to be an hour long. As we walked, Kozupii suddenly burst into tears. Startled, I hurried to give her back her tissue. After bowing to me way more times than she needed to, she took the tissue and wiped away tears from her eyes. That's kind of gross. It has your blood on it. Back to what I was saying earlier. It feels really weird and also makes me feel pretty uncomfortable when people can hear everything I'm thinking. That's my honest opinion about it.
そうだよね。ごめんなさい。
Okay.
でも、聞きたくなくても聞こえちゃうの。
Oh man, being in a big city like this must be horrifying. Oh, and with the class having such negative thoughts about her, like when she came in, like all the girls, it must be just torture. God, can you imagine? Like, I've always thought like reading people's minds would be great as long as you could switch it off or direct it. If you couldn't turn it off, it would literally make you go crazy. Is that so?
そうなの。
You know what? I bet you that also means she's pretty immune to like most perverted thoughts, because people are going to be having perverted thoughts. Because like, what? People don't usually get to peek inside, and you sometimes can't help it. It just happens. So she's probably been inundated and inoculated to it. But if it started being perverted thoughts about her, oh gosh, we had that delusion about her in class. Did you see that? Oh no. Was she participating? Remember how she like said the word and it kind of shocked us? What if she was in that delusion? Like basically because she was like participating in the thoughts. And so he had the delusion that involved her. And she was actually like, oh, that's disturbing. Oh no. Well, either way, I know you don't want to be told that by an otaku freak like me. I was right. A disgusting guy like me really is worthless.
そんなことない。
Just as I was about to revert to my depressed state, Kozupii shouted at me with her inner voice.
ダメだよ。そんなことを言っちゃ。そんな悲しいこと。
Aww. Oh no! Tears started to trickle down her face once again. Why are you crying? Do you feel sorry for me? So, there's no reason to. I mean, look at me. I'm so utterly delusional. I create personalities inside my head and treat them like they're actual real people. For example, there's Rimi.
それって咲畑さんじゃなかった。咲畑さんのこと？
You know her.
だってクラスメートだよ。西条くんの彼女さんなのら。
Whoa. Wait, this is news to us. Like hell she is.
あ、違うの？てっきりてっきりそうだとばっかり思ってた。
Kozupii knows who Rimi is, which means Rimi is real. She isn't just a delusion. She isn't someone I made up in my head. Rimi's real. That's the thing though, bro. The flower box was also a delusion, but everyone assumed it's real now. So I think that's not valid.
そうか。
I'm so happy. But if that's really true, then why hasn't she contacted me a single time? Maybe the O front incident really did make her fall out of love with me.
咲畑さん、地震があったあの日、青い顔をして早退して行っちゃったのら。
Oh.
それ以来、学校来てないよ。
Oh, wow.
もしかして家族に何か悲しいことがあったかも。
That's it. See, I'm amazed Taku never considered that, because I'd be like, what if she got injured? What if she had family that got injured? There's so many things that could have caused her to not be coming to school. He just never even thought about. Is that so? I felt like I'd been saved. Now that I knew that Rimi hadn't abandoned me, I genuinely felt like I was about to burst into tears. If it's really true, if Rimi really isn't a delusion, then I actually have a reason to go to school, to see Rimi again. So until I see her once again, I'll try my hardest to.
気をつけてね。
Oh, yeah? Huh?
西条くんが咲畑さんと付き合ってるって思ってたから言わなかったけど
Oh.
咲畑さんには気をつけて。
Uh-oh. Because you've heard her thoughts. What do you mean?
咲畑さんはよくわかんないのら。
Oh, fetch. She's going to pull the rabbit out of the hat. She's going to show us the light. Again, what do you mean? What do you mean I don't really know her? What do you mean because of the crucifixion? Or is it that even though I'm supposed to have been a classmate with her since first year, all my memories of her are missing? Is it true that Rimi still is a bit of a mystery to me? But she's saved me over and over again. Whenever I'm scared, she tells me that she'll stay by my side. She's not my enemy. For some reason, Kozupii looks a bit unstable.
そんなに一度にいっぱい考えられると。
Oh, it's a bit overwhelming.
コズピーついていきにゃい。
Sorry. This is just pretty new to me. Whenever I have a conversation with someone, I always end up not being able to say even 20% of what I'm thinking before it ends, but when it comes to this mental stuff, I guess I can't help but talk too much because I think too much. I guess that kind of applies to you too. I never would have expected you to talk so much inside your head, that is. Again, I would worry because I also could think really, I don't know, perspective of really fast is odd, but I can definitely go through a lot of thoughts, especially recalling a book or scenes or stories or even just basic memories pretty quickly. So I wonder if I would inundate her with like images. Yeah, no, that could be interesting. Here's another question. Can she read people's dreams? Like if they're dreaming, does she still hear their thoughts? Or do they fuzz out and become kind of like nothing because they're unconscious? Interesting.
喋ってるっていう感覚は薄いよ。考えてるだけ。それが流れ込むだけ。相手にはビビーって、相手からはドバーって。
Okay, so she can direct it. So she hears everyone kind of constantly, but she can make a two-path conversation. So can she talk to anybody in her head, or is it just like certain people?
慣れてないと自分の思考と相手の思考がごちゃごちゃってなって、にゃーってなるの。
Alright. I really like you as a character, but the way they decided to write your inner thoughts is very much like, it's your biggest hindrance. It's your biggest hindrance. In Japanese, please. I can kind of understand what you're going for, though. I think you're trying to say that you don't have the real subtlety or nuance of actual conversation. There's nothing like, for example, looking at the other person's expression and then deciding that you're no longer able to bring yourself to say what you wanted to say because of it. If people's thoughts just leaked out wildly, then you'd no longer be able to read the room. The transmission isn't one way, but it isn't two-way either. It's like having to pick one arrow out of an avalanche of arrows, all of which were flying in different directions, all while somehow ignoring all the other ones you didn't need to have to tune out the excessive noise.
だから気楽だし距離感も近いけど
Oh, okay.
傷つくことも簡単なの
Oh, I bet. For a moment, Kozupi's expression clouded a bit, but not long after, a tearful smile rose upon her face.
西条くんは初めてなのにすんごく上手だよ
Oh, okay.
コズピーとビビビが合うの
Okay, so the thoughts are similar paces and similar wavelengths, and so like it's actually an easy way. It's pleasant to have these thought conversations with him. Beep beep beeps. Are you trying to say we're on the same wavelength?
そう波長
Well, I guess it's probably because I do something similar with Sierra Town pretty often.
あでもあの時の西条くんは怖かったのピー
Wait. Okay. It's like having a triggering flashback here. I want to, where is it? Okay, I'm gonna go to the next line, but then we're gonna go back to this one real quick. Back then. Okay. No, back. Okay, this. Listen to this. Wait. Are you gonna play it? No. Hang on.
あでも
Yeah.
あの時の西条でも
You hear that?
でも
Now,
あの時
she's just
の
repeating
西条
that
くんは
phrase.
怖かったの
But that line and the fact that she repeated something for some reason like triggered a memory. She wouldn't happen to have the same voice actor that did Rena from Higurashi, right? Like, are they the same actor? Because at first I didn't make that correlation, but with the repeated line and then like the kind of the sweet talk, the pattern is very similar. It could just be a different voice actor talking in a similar manner, obviously, but for some reason that line in particular felt right out of Higurashi. Am I crazy? I'm probably crazy, but like I'm just saying, she doesn't happen to share the voice actor, does she? Anyway, back then.
今日の朝教室で
Oh, that reminds me. I think I had a really stupid delusion this morning.
だからうひゃーって思ってつい声をかけちゃったのら
Oh, crap, I was right. She did see that? Oh, no.
本当はなるべくこの力を他の人に知られないようにしようって決めてたのに。
That's fair. Okay, so she can talk to pretty much anybody, but yeah, like, this isn't something you'd want to make it's gonna make people freak out if you tell most of them. Wait, you don't understand. Back then I was just really desperate and, well, at the end of the day, I was just a delusion. Who am I kidding? You probably hate me.
きっとそれを本当にやってたらコズピーは西条君を
Don't say it.
殺してたよ。
Oh. Oh, you're terrifying. Maybe you are, Rena. It's not the same voice actor. You have similar energy. Huh? She'd said such a disturbing thing so innocently. The contrast between the two extremes sent a chill down my spine. So she's like, oh yeah, look, I was part of that whole conversation, but since you kind of, you know, intruded that into my life, I decided to intrude into yours. But if you actually did that, I'd kill you. Like, oh. Remaining silent while we were still communicating in our heads, the two of us passed through Center Gaia and came out the Kashira Dori. From an outsider's perspective, did the two of us look like a brand new couple, walking in silence, not even looking at each other? Kozupii let out a crazy loud gasp next to me. Her eyes went wide and she looked up at me. No, it was just a random thought. Random thought. Oh no. God, having a relationship with someone who can read your mind would be both a blessing and a curse. Cause like, no secrets can happen. Sorry. I knew it. It really does suck trying to think when someone's listening to every thought you have. Whenever I was talking to Kozupii, it would probably be better for me to overall health if I avoided any unnecessary delusions as much as possible. Okay, yeah. You know, at this point, I feel like you have the right to ask anything you want.
先週の西条くんがテレビに出てた時のこと。
Oh, right. Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
それ決めつけ？
True. She also can read your thoughts, so like, would you be able to easily lie to her?
コズピーはあの時下にいたんだよ。
Oh, she watched it. Down below.
スクランブル交差点、ハチ公口の改札前、ちょうど通りかかって。あの時、ずっと声、聞こえてたよ。
Hear what?
西条くんの声。
Oh. So you heard the whole conversation with the other Shogun. Like our side of it, at least.
ナナミさんを助けたい、助けなきゃって。聞こえたよ。
Wow. Did my inner voice really reach that far? It's surprisingly a long way from the roof of O-Front to the ticket gate at the station.
それだけあの時の西条くんの思いは強かったのら。
Oh, wow. So he was basically mentally screaming. Most times people can't hear that, but she can. Huh, I guess Kozupii really did understand. I didn't cause such an uproar because I was planning to show off at a ESP.
だから価値はなくなくないよ。
Aww. Doesn't not? Got your triple negatives in there. But in the end, it was all pointless. I put my own life before Nanami's. At the very last second, I escaped. Kozupii stopped before the entrance of Roft, and then, while pointing at the entrance, she looked at me. This must have been where she wanted to take me. I didn't think there would be a place to rest inside Roft. It was a small, cramped spot that was filled to the brim with customers. My legs were unconsciously shaking. The cheers and shouts I'd heard the night Scramble Crossing resounded inside my head. I don't want to go places with lots of people. Once I go inside there, there'll be nowhere to run.
大丈夫だよ。
Okay. In spite of how afraid I was, Kozupii marched on ahead, ignoring me. I had no choice but to follow her as fast as my legs could take me, trying my best not to look at my surroundings. As we got to the escalator, Kozupii looked back at my standing behind her. She was standing one step higher than me, putting us at equal height. Dang.
ナナミちゃんは助かったんだよね。だったら西条くんが頑張ったおかげだよ。
I don't know about that. My power isn't what saved her. Might as well have done nothing at all.
屋上から手を伸ばしてたよね。何をしようとしたの？ビョーンって飛ぼうとしたのかな？
No, thank goodness. No, I was trying to get his sword. It was a delusional sword, and it blended right in with the scenery, and I saw it from the rooftop.
理想度？
Bet she knows. A D-sword. I was told that I could reach out and grab it, but I couldn't. He's like, wait a minute, you know?
なんで？
I shouted that aloud without thinking. A couple passed by on the escalator gave me an irritated look, and I frantically slapped my hand over my mouth. Kozupii, how do you know what a D-sword is? Because I have one.
も持っているもん。
I'm sure. Yeah. You summon it? As soon as we got off the escalator on the 5th floor, Kozupii casually raised her right hand above her head. It was like she was trying to shade herself from the radiant glare of the sun using her hand. Here it comes. As if it were running along her hand, light suddenly appeared in the air. No, it wasn't light, it was closer to lines. If I were to describe it, it'd be similar to a wireframe. Countless rays of light intersecting in seemingly empty space before eventually forming a shape akin to that of a snowboard. And then several streaks of blue light, more fiercely brilliant than any of the wireframe lines, ran across the entirety of it. Kozupii then clasped her open hand. Oh, look at that thing! That thing looks sweet! It's like a it's like a broadsword from Berserk fused with a batleth from Star Trek. Batleth is the two-headed curved like scythe-like blade that is wielded by Klingons, which is super nerdy of me, I know, but I've recently been on a Star Trek kick. I've been watching some of the classic Next Generation stuff, and so it's just in my head. But yeah, ooh, immediately following this, we had an original. Okay, hang on, we gotta get a picture of that. Immediately following this, what had originally been wireframe, appearing as though a texture had been applied to it, transformed into a massive, solid, seeming cold to the touch metal plank.
理想度。
The shape was far too different than the ones Senna and ISA possessed, and yet even so, the aura about this body was exactly the same. I gotta see now. I like her. I want to have more positive ones around her if we can. It was too sinister to be called a board. It was too unaffected to be called a sword. I also do like that the shapes of the D swords, like they really are leaning into like at first the depiction that we were given was like, oh, these are like, you know, typical anime swords, larger than life type swords, right? But I like how they're leaning into like these weird ethereal type shapes too, because like this doesn't even look like it'd be a weapon you could normally wield, especially not effectively. But because the swords don't adhere to like the normal laws and rules of physics, you could easily wield this as a weapon that makes it makes sense. But it's just fun that like they're good to play with that. His sword looked odd too, like a back sword with an eye and handle, which is kind of funny. So the art at the end of these episodes was commissioned, which it was beautiful. But the thing is, the person commissioning it never played the game, so they must have looked at art from the show, because they gave like the representation that's supposed to be me the same sword that he has. So which is interesting. I don't know if she did it on purpose or not. Obviously, I think like it was just the like kind of using references from some of the art from the game, but it's still pretty fun. Anyway, it's possessed a pure, unadulterated savagery, one that intermingled with its destructive nobility. She held it in the air with incredible ease. Delusion time. And we gotta remember, she's privy to this too. Well, in that tiny body was she hiding that kind of strength? That's another thing, like, this is another great picture too. Look how happy she is. From the looks of it, that thing has to weigh at least 5 kilograms. Kozupii, having literally read the question in my head, turned to me and smiled bashfully.
コズピーは匠さんを守るためだけに作られたアンドロイドなのら。
はい。
Yeah, she just said android? What kind of anime plotline was that? Ignoring my disbelief, Kozupii clenched her hand in an adorable fist.
匠さん、もう安心なの。匠さんを狙う悪いやつはコズピーがドッカーンってするのら。
So, like, here's the thing. Now, here's the question. Is she participating in this delusion too? Or is she, like, amusedly now watching this delusion? Because Who knows?
ちなみにコズピーはメイド機能もあるの。
Oh, jeez.
だからこれからたくみさんと一緒に住んで身の回りのお世話もしたいのだ。
Yeah, again, I'm really getting strong Rena vibes now. I see. That would be convenient. I was willing to accept that Kozupii was an android on top of everything else. That is, if she fulfilled one non-negotiable condition.
エッチなことをできる機能はありますか？
Oh my gosh. She's gonna kill us. For whatever reason, I said all that very formally. Also, jeez, what did I just ask her? While I waffled on whether or not to apologize to her, Kozupi's cheeks turned bright red and her eyes shot downward.
エッチなこともできるの。
Oh my gosh. Like, she's gonna kill us.
夜のご奉仕頑張るの。
Ah, holy fetch! Made of the combat abilities and the ability to perform nightly services? What kind of eroge is this? I also like how your mental thought there was literally numbers. She came enhanced with perhaps too many optional features, lol. Japanese technology is the best in the world. Oh my gosh. Fetch me. God, look at that sword. While I was having that idiotic delusion, Kozupii waltzed around the store like she owned the place, her footsteps light and bouncy. Okay, this might be the best picture we have. This could be the good thumbnail. Aw, she's cute, isn't she? She didn't even attempt to try and hide her sword from the people around her, acting as if it was the most normal thing in the world. It'd been the same with Senna. She had almost been lugging that gigantic sword in the middle of Shibuya with no regard to the people around her. Kozupii was way too calm. Both her and Senna really were crazy. Bro, I don't know, dude. If you think they're crazy, you're just as crazy, if not more so. And what I remembered was the smell of blood. I remembered the scene at the DQNs lying on the pool of blood.
あんなひどいことする人たちは死んで当然だよ。プンプン。
Oh, she did kill them. Oh, she just flat out killed them. So they really were dead? Oh, okay. Just life-altering injuries and thrown in a dumpster. Probably getting infected.
生きてる価値もないけど、あんなゴキゴキな
Cocky
人たち
roaches.
は
Cocky roaches? I'm glad you thought of that.
ゴキブリ？はあ、殺したかったな。
Oh, it's a cute little psychopath. Just the best kind. I could feel pretty clearly where Kozupi's mind went when she said that. There's not a trace of malice within her. She just wanted to take revenge on bad people who had wronged her, and didn't think there was anything inherently wrong with that.
最近渋谷はますます物騒だよ。
Yeah.
昨日も怖そうなゴキゴキ男たちに拉致されそうになっちゃったから、ドカドカドカーンってしてやったのら。
Well, I'm glad you did. Fetch, that's terrifying. This girl honestly seems pretty twisted, albeit in a different way than me.
西条くん、こっちです。
Kozupii began to walk, her gigantic D-sword still in hand. She was pretty short, and her arms were really thin. She didn't look like she could even lift a feather, and yet despite all these things, she didn't show any signs of her sword weighing her down. In fact, her steps were light and springy. Covered my eyes again and again each time the tip of the sword nearly collided with passing customers or products on display. Miraculously, though, it didn't end up hitting anything. Well, then we arrived at the staircase. It was dimly lit, and unlike the rest of the floor, there was no sign of anyone around, not even approaching the area. Didn't expect to find such a desolate spot inside Roth, a ridiculously popular store, especially since it was only a 5-minute walk from Shibuya Station.
ロフトだけじゃないのだ。デパートの階段って全然人がいないの。
You only moved here a few weeks ago, and I've been living here for almost 2 years. How exactly did you know about this? But I didn't.
コズピーは東京に来てから毎日渋谷を歩き回ってたのら。
Okay.
それで見つけたの。憩いの場所だよ。
Kozupii, seemingly in a good mood, sat down on the steps. She then casually laid her D-sword down on the floor. I had a pain in my side that was becoming unbearable, so I decided to take a break as well for the time being. I'd ask her if I could, like, touch the sword. I don't know, like, maybe that'd be a bad idea, but I'd want to say, like, can I, like, hold that? Can I see what it's like?
それで、景色とか模様とか見ると、別のものが見えたりしないかな。
That's what's disturbing to me, is, like, that does happen to me. Like, frequently. Like, it's a real thing that people experience, and they're playing off of it, and it's, like, kind of like, oh gosh.
ゾウさんとかウサギさんとかライオンさんとか。
Not usually that. It can be a lot of different things. The really scary ones are the times where you feel like you see either, like, people out of the corner of your eye, and it's not even like, oh, like, there's a silhouette that looks like a person, like a mannequin or something. It's like, sometimes I feel like there's a person that, like, suddenly, like, comes in on the side of my periphery, but I look and there's literally nothing there. I don't know what triggers that response, though. The other ones I tend to have are, I'll catch movement, like something's, like, standing right outside of, like, my vision. And occasionally, I've seen light patterns, but that I feel like is more a response to being tired. Like, when I'm more tired, that stuff happens a lot more. So I think it's just my brain trying to, like, you know, kind of like entering dream state. Maybe I need to go see a doctor about it. I don't know. It's always been the thing, so I've never thought about it.
一番おーって思ったのは、オオサンショウオさんに見えてた時。
A big salamander, that was more important than the sword you can pull out of reality? What in the world are you talking about?
理想度の話ですよ。うっぶー。何かの模様とか景色とか見ると、動物さんとかいろんな形に見えることがあって。
Yeah? I mean, at the very basic minimum, the version that she's describing would be like looking at the clouds and looking at shapes of clouds and seeing things there. Oh, you mean that. Yeah, I've experienced that before. When I was looking from the perspective of an O-front rooftop, I saw something. I saw a D-sword blending into the scenery.
はい、ピンポンです。コズピーが最初に見えた時は、ハムポンポンが死んじゃった時。
Ham Pom Pom? Who's that? Ham Pom Pom?
小学生の時、飼ってたハムスター。ほいで、ハムポンポンのお墓を作ってあげようって土手に行ったのら。でも、スコップ忘れてお墓作れなくて、ふみゃーって泣いていたら。
Okay. Why are you talking about yourself in the third person?
お空にこの剣の形が見えた。それからはいろんなところでよく見るようになったのら。
How did you actually get your hands on it? In the end, I found my sword, but I couldn't take it. No matter how hard I tried to reach for it, I couldn't grab hold of it.
ただ、願ったんだよ。
You wished for it? Like what? That you could have it? But if that's what you did, then I did the same thing. Stopping my thought in its track, Kozupii looked up at me and shook her head faintly.
違うのら。願ったのはね、殺してやりたいっていうこと。
Kozupii wants to kill? What the fetch? God, so terrifying, especially because of how happy she looks. Her inner voice echoed clearly in my head, and I hadn't misheard her. She said that very clearly. Kozupii wished to kill. She'd been beaming as she said it. The stairs leading up from the fifth floor to the sixth floor were very quiet, with only the faintest background music leaking in from the restaurant. Neither one of us said a word. The sound of someone breathing entered into my ears. Was it hers? No, it was my own. A staircase where no one could ever approach. A blind spot in the heart of Shibuya, a pocket of air. I swallowed back my saliva in an attempt to wet the increasingly dry throat.
そう願いながら、みゆーって空見たら、また剣が見えて。でも、その時まで剣とは思ってなかったよ。なんだか、ガキーンってしたものって思ってた。
They just went sheen. Okay.
あれで、ブーンってやったら、殺せるかなーって、無意識に手を伸ばしたら。
Who did you want to kill so badly?
本当につかめたのら。
And then what happened? What did you do after that? Fetch. Remember when she was introduced? It was like her getting ready to move and she was burning her school uniform. Did she like kill someone and she burned the evidence because she had blood on her uniform?
殺そうとしたけど、できなかった。
Okay.
コズピーの力じゃ半殺しにするのが精一杯だったのです。
Okay. Who? This girl. It's like she's broken.
壊れてないよ。プンプン。ここに剣あるもん。
The way she gazed lovingly at the sword resting beside her, I could tell that she had absolute faith in it. Something in her heart told me as well. Would I have to become this broken in order to get my hands on a D-sword? Was I still not broken to begin with? That's disturbing.
この剣が怖くて仕方なかった。
That was what Orihara Koze had thought before she came to Tokyo. But now it was different. Now it had become something very important, something entirely irreplaceable to her. This sword, if I have it, then I won't be afraid. This sword will protect me. The sword is my heart, another me. I had been about 3 weeks ago when she had first begun to think so. Okay, so this is her memory. Ever since she was a child, Koze had the ability to hear inner voices present in other people's heads. Oh, okay, so that's not even tied to the sword at all. Like, I thought it was kind of similar. No, she just always had this. As to when she first became aware of it, she could no longer remember. Must be crazy. I must be really sick. These thoughts pervade her mind as she sought to understand. Even though she was very young at the time, Koze knew that her power was something no one else could know about. Thus, she concealed it from her parents. Her powers rendered her unable to make friends, forged a rift between her and her family, and made the people around her think she was merely a girl with ridiculous intuition, one that gave them the creeps. Yeah, because like, could you help but not respond, especially as a kid, but even as an adult? Like, if I could read people's thoughts and you just heard like the bare and naked thoughts that are just not very pleasant and nice, like, it would suck. It would suck if you couldn't turn it off. Even when she came to Shibuya, she had still been afraid to go to school. She did not want to meet anyone new nor talk to anyone. She thought that they would be creeped out by her no matter what she did. She did not go to school on the day she was first supposed to, nor the next day, or even the day after, instead choosing to wander around Shibuya during the morning. There was no doubt that Koze's parents had been notified by the school, as the staff must have noticed that Koze had been absent without prior notice, and yet her parents had said nothing to her. It would be understandable for people to mistake her for a middle school student, but unlike the countryside where she had used to reside, there was no one around to rebuke her as such when she walked the streets on weekday mornings. It had been several days since she had first begun wandering around Shibuya. In that time, she'd found a place to relax, the stairs of the local loft. It had become a routine for her to sit there and stare off into space. And this routine remained true on that day as well. After spending nearly 4 hours there, evening broke and she left off to return home. Raindrops fell from the dark gray sky. Koze did not have an umbrella, and yet without looking up at the sky, nor once fretting about getting wet, she timidly stepped out into the rain. At that very moment, something entered her field of view. Who's this? He's got like a sprite. The world is ending. A sign with a message written upon it, sodden by rain, the handwriting had blurred. He's been in the background, hasn't he? I've mentioned him before. He's been standing with a sign like the world's coming to an end, like the end is nigh. I've even mentioned it, but is it specifically this is a character? The person holding a sign was a lone, lifeless homeless man, standing on the side of the road under the pouring rain. His head hung downward so none could see his face. Perhaps he was dead. Person, seeing him as though it were a mirror image of herself sitting on the stairs, Koze ceased her stride. Oh wow. Look at that dress. That's cute. Yeah. Again, like that's a very nice looking dress. Like it fits her really well. It's like but it almost looks like a doll. For just a moment, she hesitated. He was a stranger, a homeless man she'd never seen before come to Tokyo, and the mere sight of him brought a feeling of revulsion. If I talk to him, what if something terrible happens to me? Such anxieties pervade Koze's mind. Pervade my mind too. I'm always thinking like that. But what was far stronger than that anxiety was Koze's strong urge to kill the man. Well, that's where we deviate. Why? It was an all too sudden impulse, one that struck Koze with a feeling that if she went through with it, she would be killing herself as well. And so, after hesitating for one moment longer, Koze sent to the man a voice of her heart.
世界は終わるの?
The man's shoulders twitched. He was not dead. Slowly he raised his head. His cloudy eyes peeked out from between sodden bangs, looked up at Kozai. He just rolls with it. I've been saying Kozai, but it's Kozua. It's probably Kozua's. Kozua's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Not at the fact that he had just confirmed the world was ending, but that the man had replied at all. She had not been expecting a reply. The person with whom she would send her inner voice to would rarely responded well. Instead, they would face immense confusion, write it off as auditory illusion, or shudder in terror before walking away at a hurried pace. Even if she did succeed in communicating with them, it was difficult for the other party to send back a reply in an orderly manner. People's thoughts were far too chaotic and disorderly. And yet, the man's expression did not change. He simply answered Kozue's question with an incredibly short response. The heart Kozue felt through the man's voice was laden with deep sadness. To her, it almost felt as if his heart was shedding tears. That he just knows.
どうしてわかるの？
君のような子を他にも知っているから。
Kozue raised her hands above her head and withdrew her sword where she stood. She thrust the end of the blade toward the man. Oh, that's terrifying.
この剣が見えるの？
She's normally so cute, but that face looks horrifying. Holy crap.
見えないよ。
じゃあ、どうしてわかるの？
おじさんが悪い人だからだよ。
I'm a bad man.
すまない。
どうして謝るの？
おじさんのせいなんだ。
It's your fault.
どうしておじさんのせいなの？
忠告しかできないから。動き出してしまったから。
Oh, man.
もう、おじさんには止める術がないから。
Who is this guy?
じゃあ、おじさんを殺せば、コズピーは悪くなくなるの？
その剣は、君を殺す者にも、守る者にもなる。
Okay. So it can be used to either kill you or protect you.
思い出してごらん。空を見れば雲が、川を見れば流れが、そこにあったはず。それと同じこと。
So somebody told her about it too. So who's telling these people to get these swords?
そ
And how
の
does he
剣
know?
はいつも君のそばにあった。自分自身の心を見てごらん。そこにあるのがその剣なんだよ。
Gaze into your heart, and that's where the sword shall be.
でも、殺したいって願ったら、これが手元にあったんだよ。この剣は、コズピーとコズピーの周囲にあるあらゆるものを殺すためのものじゃないの？
So yeah, so the swords, they can either be a protection or a weapon. And she uses it as a weapon.
負の感情は否定されるものじゃない。人が誰しも持つものだからね。
Okay. What is that word? Repudiated? Or maybe like repudiated. It sounds like it's meant to be like rebuked, or like it has a root for rebuke, which would be, dismissed or labeled evil. He's saying like, hey, it's not evil to have negative thoughts. We all do.
特別じゃないんだ。どう向き合うか
It's
だ
what you
よ。
choose to do with them that counts.
目をそらしてはいけない。自分を否定してはいけない。世界は共造。
The world's a mirror.
君の心の中にある性は、同時にふとなりうるし、
Okay.
その逆もまた可能。世界が終わるのか、生き続けるのか、それを選べるのは、
The only people who can choose whether the world will end or be continued on
君たちだけなんだ。
is all of you. In the end, Kozai had not killed the man. The urge had for some reason or another ceased to be as the man spoke to her. She did not expressly understand the meaning of the man's words, but even still she thought long and hard before eventually arriving at a single conclusion. This sword is me. If I look at it, and don't deny it, it'll save me. And for that reason, Kozue fully cast her faith in the sword. Who is that guy? He knows way too much. I tilted my head, having just listened to Kozupi's story. Who the hell was that man she'd been talking about, the homeless guy carrying around a sign? Come to think of it, I felt like I'd seen him around a few times too. Was it the same guy? I saw him too! That's cool! That's really cool that they're acknowledging that. What I didn't get though is why some random bum knew so much about D-swords. The other thing, it's great. That's kind of that's a pattern. I need to be paying attention to that. It's a pattern that this game is utilizing that lots of times, because a visual novels is kind of a meme that's stuffed in the background of scenery of most like CGs is just kind of fluff. That's just there to kind of be a set piece, right? They're utilizing it. They're hiding the D swords in them, and they're also hiding characters that are going to become relevant in the backgrounds. If I'm paying attention, I can probably pick out things in the future that might be imperative. In fact, I probably have inadvertently glanced past stuff. There was a guy a few scenes back in her memory walking in front of the station. He didn't look like the homeless guy, but it looked like he was dressed in a very particular way, and I wonder if we'll see him again. Or maybe he was the same guy who cornered us in the alley, though we didn't see a sprite of that guy, so I don't know. Anyway. Or was I the odd one out? Maybe D-swords were actually huge in Japan pop culture and I'd just been living under a rock or something? That chance. I glanced over at Kozupii. Her face is so calm and peaceful, it's hard to believe that she ever blurted out psycho things like wanting to kill people. She gently glided her finger over the surface of her D-sword.
そういえば、あのおじさん、別れ際にこんなこと言ってたのら。
Okay.
君たちは特別な存在だ。
Or special beings.
中でも一番特別なのは、
Oh?
その目、誰の目を産み落とした少年。
Oh, that's creepy.
らしいんだって。
I didn't know what to say. What the hell?
西条くん、心当たりあるの？
いや、別に。
嘘ら。心は正直なんだよ。西条くんは今、ものすごーく関係あります。
Yeah, bro.
考えてる。
Let's lie to the mind reader. That's gonna go well. Oh, gosh darn it. It's exactly what I was thinking about. It sucks trying to think when she's listening to every thought I have.
なんか、怖い顔になってる。その目、誰の目って、西条くんが最初に考えたの？
Yeah, a long time ago. I bit my lip, then stood up. My nosebleed had stopped, so I pulled out a tissue crammed into my nose. Kozupii tilted her head as she looked up at me.
どこへ？
I'm going home. Now I'm looking in the background. Who are you? Where are you? Even though my sides were still killing me, I ignored the escalators and elevators and took the stairs down to the first floor instead. It was much easier to dodge crowds and make my way out that way. Teary-eyed, Kozupii timidly followed behind me.
コズピー、何か怒らせるようなこと言ったかな？
I disregarded Kozupi's question. I was too focused on trying to sort out the thoughts in my head. That homeless guy she'd met, could he have been one of Shogun's comrades? And what the hell was up with him mentioning whose eyes are those eyes? Who had been talking about what he'd said, the boy who'd birthed whose eyes are those eyes? Me? That couldn't be right. I wasn't even close to special. Being a hero just wasn't in my blood. I mean, I couldn't even get my hands on the down D-sword. I was just an average Joe, Villager A. I wouldn't, definitely, if there's a Villager A in the universe, it's me. I wouldn't have had it any other way. Being special? No thanks, man. I'd rather not have another O-front breakdown in my lifetime. That begged the question, who was that boy? I considered the real culprit behind the NewGen case, Shogun. No way, Shogun was anything other than the old man, but his voice and body made him seem like a kid more than anything. Pretty much everything about him screamed how abnormal he was, how he was someone special. 2 of the 6 current NewGen cases who had whose eyes are those eyes appear at the scene of the crime in some capacity. I used the phrase quite a bit, but only ever in my own head. They barely even meant anything, so what the hell were they doing in all those places? Was there actually a reason hidden in there somewhere, or would that reveal why Shogun was so persistent in coming after me? At this point, I'm just starting to think Shogun is you, bro. Like, I think that was something we were tossing around as an idea before, but I kind of got distanced from it because of all the magic that was happening. But maybe I'm just going to come right back to it. Maybe it's him. Maybe the homeless guy's you. Maybe these are different versions of you pulled from different dimensions. Like, you've inadvertently been ripping people and things into this universe without even realizing it, and that's why you're so strong. But part of the problem is that every time you've changed personalities, you've accidentally birthed a new one into the universe, and it's starting to fight back because apparently it matters. I don't know. What even is it's so stupid, but like at this point, how else would people know these things? Like, how would people be able to have like one-sided conversations with himself? Like, it was him, right? Like, initially, it was him. He was sleepwalking. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe what happened is that he has sleepwalking. He has that secondary personality, right? Like you like found out. But because the barrier between the dimensions is thinning, that personality that normally only ever came out during his sleepwalking episodes in which he started messaging with himself because it was getting stronger, maybe it became an actual person because he gave it conceptually like a life. He gave it a name that he recognized, like the surname that was on the computer, and he started referring to them as an actual enemy, an actual person, and so they manifested as a real entity. And so it is him, but it's like a subconscious part of him that's now become birthed in the world. That would make a lot of sense. And maybe the homeless man is a future version of him, or somehow, because it feels like he has way too much knowledge about him, and it kind of looks like Taku in a way, like similar colored hair, but clearly was older. So that could also be another person of Taku. Maybe that's part of the issue. He's got multiple personality syndrome, but the breakdown of the barriers is leading to him having a fractured realities. Like, not fractured realities, but fractured personalities manifesting in reality. That actually makes sense. Okay, I might have accidentally talked myself into a real theory. At first, I was just BSing, but now I'm actually thinking that might actually have some teeth to it. Because the idea is that reality is malleable. And we accept that that's real. Things that could have been just in his head are starting to manifest in reality. That's what my theory was earlier about Rimi. That's what the D-swords kind of are. And so now I'm wondering if Shogun might actually be an aspect of his personality that's manifested into the real world. Maybe at first it was just him sleepwalking, doing the things that Shogun is doing. But now, maybe at the Shibuya station issue, like when he kind of had that meeting, maybe that manifested Shogun into reality. And so Shogun's actually real because he did that pulled from reality. And maybe part of what Shogun's doing is pulling these different things from realities to like manipulate him, because the Shogun seems to understand these capabilities. Yeah, okay. I'm going to make that my theory for now. Maybe the homeless guy had some clues I could work with. I imagine he's still somewhere in the city carrying around his cryptic sign. I should look for him. Where is he? Where is he? There's no way we're going to like happen to walk into him right now, right? But now I'm staring at all of this stuff. Where is he? Where's the sword? Wait a minute. Ooh. No, I don't think that's the sword. Like, for a second, I think I saw the sword over here. So, like, there's this weird, like, kiosk thing, right? I don't know if it's, like, a little police station. It's got the bikes parked in front of it. It's, like, it's part of this, like, kind of merger point. But it almost looks like a sword is like, sticking up in that gap. But I think I'm looking too hard for it, so I don't think that's real. But now it's like, I feel like I have to pay attention to the backgrounds now. So I look for him. Then what? I paused for a moment and then shook my head in denial of what I'd been thinking. What good would come from looking for him? If it was a whole lot more likely to just put me in harm's way. For all I knew, the guy was one of Shogun's minions, only there to lure me into some horrifying trap. So if I just cruised my way over to the guy, there's a strong chance it would just trigger another quest. I didn't know if I could handle that, so I was already sick to death of all the pain and terror I'd been going through lately. And my suspicion didn't end at the homeless guy. I was even suspicious of Kozupii. She didn't really have any reason to, and yet she was speaking to me with her inner voice. Why was that? Had she been under orders by Shogun to approach me, just like Yua? With her really unsettling stance of both attempted and actual murder, it was very possible she was an accomplice in NewGen. After all the mayhem at the O front, Rimi had just been vanished. I hadn't heard a word from her since. Then Ayase had been hospitalized after her attempted suicide. Nanami was fine, but the two people on my side had completely disappeared on me. Was there any guarantee Rimi would ever come back? For starters, was she really just taking time off from school? Granted, I only knew that because Kozupii told me, and I had no way of knowing if she was lying or not. All my hair stood on end, howling at me that something was off. In the end, me and my world were all too empty, hollow. There was nothing left to believe in. Nothing that didn't seem like a lie. Frankly, that's the problem I was running into, bro. It's hard to know what I can trust when everything's just malleable.
それは被害妄想なのら。
Girl talking in my head doesn't help. Kozupii was standing right behind me. Her inner voice was all carefree as always. Her brutal-looking D-sword sat comfortably in both hands as she carried it around. Then she cast an upward glance at me. I averted my eyes. Are you my ally or my enemy? Which is it? Did you come here to kill me?
コズピーはただ。
Just what? What? Kozupii suddenly yelped in excitement. Startled, my head jolted upward, only to realize it wasn't me she was looking at, nor the person she was waving to. Oh, Senna! Senna-shan? Wait a second. Tracing the end of Kozupi's gaze, sure enough. This episode's never gonna end. This episode's never gonna end. I was just saying, it's getting kind of long. We've been going over an hour now. It's never ending. Wait, let me see. How did she say her name? Kozua. Kozua. Okay. It was Senna with the D-sword in her shoulder. As she walked towards us, her expression made it clear her mood was just as sour as ever. I reflexively tensed up. What's Senna doing here? Is it just another coincidence, or is it a calculated trap? Do these two know each other? If they did Kozupii call her here? And the two of them are here to kill me?
だからそれは被害妄想だよ。
I don't know why that's not very comforting. Like, okay, here's another great opportunity for like a thumbnail. Look at these two. Look at them. They're so cool. Yeah, but what's safe to believe in? Although it is true that no matter how many times I've run into Senna, she's never tried to attack me. But that doesn't mean she's my ally. Besides, she's scary as hell.
セナさんは怖くないよ。
She has a giant sword and she's attacked. So she's like gotten very aggressive with us. Kozupii, I could really go without the commentary.
怖い？何のことだ?
Oh, Fetch, you can hear too? As I'd figured, Senna could hear Kozupi's inner voice too. Oh, she hears just her voice. God, this is gonna make conversations really weird. The three of us having a talk, because Kozupii can talk to us in our heads, and we have to talk in person. But she's in the conversation, so like we're gonna be having like a three-way conversation, but with only two people speaking. Oh, that's fun.
なんでもないです。
Kozupii simply bathed in delight as I bumbled around. Facing the ground, she gently grasped the hem of Senna's clothes and smiled bashfully. The two were such an amusing combination, I felt stupid for getting so nervous. They're just like sisters, one the strong, firm older sister, the other the younger, more timid sister who loves her sibling more than anything. That's really cute. I like their outfits too. Senna's outfit looks great too. Dang. And on top of that, both of them have small breasts, so mega freaking GJ there. Not sure. Oh. Wait. Shoot. Call out. Chill out. What if Kozupii read my mind again? I'm not careful. I could easily die here. Aw. Are these two related anyway? The classmates? Maybe not, since they're totally different grades and all. Since they're in different grades and all. Yeah, again. Like grumpy faces. So cute. Is there something connecting the sorts of people who have swords? Are the two of them Shogun's underlings? I put myself in the cat stance that in case I had to escape at a moment's notice. What's that specifically entailed was standing with my heels raised off the ground that would allow me to speed away like a cat if I needed a rose. Maybe, I don't know. I've seen it in manga forever ago. He's just going mad here.
コズピーが東京に来てから最初のお友達なのら。
Aww.
ね。
She's like, Senna's like, okay, sure. Rather than answering, Senna merely glared at me. I had figured she was about to lunge at me with that sword of hers, but that never happened. Calling her scary hadn't seemed to piss her off to that extent at least.
小杖、どうしてこいつと？
たくみちゃんはクラスメートです。
Takumi-shan?
ほいでね、たくみちゃんはコズピーの剣が見えるんだよ。
それは知っている。こいつもギガロマニアックスだ。
Gigalomaniac? What now?
ギガロマニアッ が見える人のこと。
Oh, okay.
たくみちゃんもそうだよ。
A Gigalomaniac. Who in the world decided to name it that? Given that it has a name and all, then maybe these powers aren't all that uncommon?
あは、セナさんはガルガリ君買いに行くとこなんですね。
Oh, Crunchy, is that her popsicle? Called out! Aww, Senna's freaking adorable. From the sounds of it, Kozupii had read Senna's mind. Speaking of, I'd seen Senna eating crunchy coons in the past. With winter right around the corner, I wasn't sure why she'd be eating popsicles of all things. Guess she really likes them.
ほいじゃあ、みんなで一緒に行きましょう。
Alright, so I'm gonna say it. If there are branching routes, which I believe someone said in a passing comment before I started the series, that Chaos Head had a single route, that it was like a straight narrative, but that Noah changes that. However, I think unlike Steins Gate, where like the true ending is locked behind like doing things a specific way, I think this is the other way around, where like there's the main route, which is just your first playthrough, but if I recall correctly, you can then do a subsequent playthrough where you do get to choose other routes. Right now, these two are top of the charts, and I'm not sure which one I would prefer. They're both amazing. Like, they have, like, I like them both. I think they're fantastic characters so far. Like, her baby talk is like the biggest downside she has. If she didn't have that, she'd be probably #1. Senna's so far in the lead, though. Let's go, everyone. Why are you talking like Mario? Announcing that with her inner voice, Kozupii clung to Senna and pulled her along.
たくみちゃんも早く。
いや、僕は。
I tried to turn her down so I could get out of there already, but... Kozupii started tearing up almost immediately. Her teary eyes looked at me as she silently pleaded with me. On top of that, Senna was glaring at me like she was ready to rip my throat out with her teeth at any moment.
ついてこい。お前にもおごってやる。
Aww. It looked like Kozupii had scored a critical hit on Senna with her teary assault. Urging me to follow, I reluctantly trailed behind her, heading toward the convenience store right behind the police station. Is that what that is, the police station? So I thought the sword might be there. Aw, yes. After buying each of us a crunchy coon, we sat next to the handrails in front of the police station, nibbling away at them. While Kozupii looked delighted as she could, as could be, Senna's air of indifference remained the same. I was stressing out. The police are right there at the station in front of us. And yet, despite that, they paid no mind to the fact that two people with me were utter violations of the sword and firearms control law. The police were supposed to police people. The girls right in their line of sight, but they didn't even try to arrest them. In fact, they didn't even care enough to slap us with a warning.
食べないの？
Now that Kozupii pointed it out, I just went screw it and started eating my crunchy coon. Though it wasn't bothering me how people were staring. Though I suppose that was only fair. Senna and Kozupii were cute as hell, and the very idea of the two small-chested sisters like them hanging out with an otaku freak like me, just sitting eating crunchy coons together out in the cold, well, it's all pretty absurd. I couldn't block out the snickering in my ears. Was I just hearing things? Was it an auditory illusion, or was it just Kozupii laughing? I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be looked at. I was afraid of people gazing at me. I probably should have worn that hat. Should have worn a hat. Seriously, I really wanted to get out of here this second. I continued hurriedly eating my crunchy coon so I could leave already, and every bite left my body feeling even colder. It was gonna give me diarrhea real bad later. Okay. How are these two not freezing?
で、小杖。なぜこいつと一緒なんだ？
こいつじゃなくて、たくみさんですよ。たくみさんが悪い人にいじめられてて倒れてたのだ。だからコズピーが解放してあげたの。
Aww. So, she'd been the one who'd looked after me.
ディソードを使ったのか？
殺したかった。どっかバキー。
I wanted to kill him. Kozupii was attempting to gesture wildly in an attempt to explain how things went down. But since her left hand was busy holding her colossal D sword, she was just waving the other around all spastically. Which, of course, was the same hand she held Crunchy-kun. She had only taken a single bite of her Crunchy-kun before launching into the air with a perfect arc that popsicle soared through the sky before eventually landing smack dab in the middle of the road where it splattered into pieces. Aww. Kozupii was on the verge of tears as she stared at what remained of her popsicle.
うかつな真似は避けろと言っただろ。
ごめんなさい。もったいないない。お化けが
The waste boogeyman is gonna the food wasting boogeyman.
アイスのことじゃない。ディソードのことだ。
Senna had out her half-eaten crunchy kun to Kozupii, seemingly giving up what she had left. She still a bit teary-eyed. Kozupii smiled as she accepted the popsicle with a bow of her head. Color me surprised. Guess even Senna had her moments. Okay. Another fantastic opportunity for a screenshot. Look at that. Aww, they're so cute.
でも悪い人には罰ゲームをするのが当たり前だよ。
Uh-huh. Speaking from those a-holes, who exactly turned them into mincemeat? Kozupii or me?
たくみさんセナさんはねすごーく何でも知ってるんだよ。
Yeah, yeah.
ディソードっていう名前もセナさんに教えてもらったのら。
Oh, okay.
あとリアルブータあれれブッダ
What?
リアルブート。
Real boot. Okay.
そうそう
The hell did that mean? I've never heard that before. It was just as cryptic as the giggle whatever thing from earlier.
リアルブートしてない件は誰にも見えなかったはずなのにね。セナさんにだけ見えてたの。
Okay.
理想度が見える人に会ったのセナさんが初めてだったんだ。その時はおひゃーって思ってなんで見えるんですかって聞いちゃった。
Alright,
ギガ
right.
ロマニアックスだからなんだって。
ギガロマニアックスって
Yeah,
何
yeah.
さ
なの？
っき言ったのら剣が見える人だよ。
A bit more detail here, like how does that work?
ディラックの海に干渉できる力を持つもの。
Dirac Sea. What the fetch is that? Dirac Sea, a concept in quantum mechanics defined as by Paul Dirac, an observable primordial soup of all elementary particles that is said to be uniformly distributed throughout the world. Appears as a wave equation, Dirac equation, and the whole theory, which ties together both quantum theory and the theory of relativity. Dirac defines the vacuum as a state in which negatively charged elementary particles are so tightly packed together no more can be created. This is a Dirac Sea. Okay, I think I have heard of a Dirac Sea, but it's not like... There's no, like, real, like... Yeah, it's by definition, it's unobservable. It's meant to be a potential way to connect like quantum to like the theory of relativity, like basically tying like physics and quantum physics. I don't think it's string theory. It's like it's a alternate version of what string theory is. The whole theory, I guess, is like I just don't know too much about it because I think string theory has a lot more like evidence to support it so far, even though it's also still just a theory. We don't really know. Interesting. I'll have to look that up. Actually, I might write that down because I want to know more about that because I feel like I should have heard more about this, and maybe I have, but maybe I heard it under a different name. Okay, so I'm gonna look that up in a little while.
それがギガロマニアックスだ。
Rather than Kozupii, it was Senna who'd answered that one. Answered what was on my mind.
ディラックの海。
Senna shot me a scornful glance as I tilted my head in puzzlement. The hell was that look for? Sure, I may look like an idiot, but I'm pretty darn smart when it comes down to it, you know? I was pretty sure the Dirac Sea was a concept related to quantum mechanics.
負のエネルギーでいっぱいに満たされた観測不能の境界名とかだっけ？
大雑把に言えばそんなようなものだ。そしてそこに干渉するための端末がディソード。ディラックの海に突っ込んだパイプの先端と考えればいい。
Oh, okay. So the idea is the Dirac Sea concept is almost like the idea that like behind like reality and like lower than the levels of quarks and everything is like an opposite charged like soup. Kind of like what probably existed before the Big Bang was probably charged, positive and charged, like and negative charged fields, kind of like intermingled, and then they explode, and a large amount of the positive charge once coalesced into what we'd see as protons, neutrons, electrons. The negative charged got obliterated, essentially matter and antimatter were created in the Big Bang, and then they self-annihilated until there was like all that's left to make the universe that we have, which is the leftovers of matter, which was slightly more than the rest. So the idea that once matter and antimatter eliminate each other, they don't actually destroy. They're not like completely dissolved. They just fade into this kind of background beyond dimensional space, or essentially they're so small they can't interact with dimensional space. So it's like almost like a static. So the idea of this negative space would be the remnants of that antimatter, the negative charged particles, but they're so small that they are diffused in such a way they can't interact with matter normally. So a D-sword is essentially a tunnel that pulls this kind of antimatter into reality and likely gives it shape because it's shaped by human thought, which we do know has some effect on the quantum realm. And so these swords don't follow the same rules, which is why they are hard to observe and why they don't weigh the same, that they like weigh what they feel like, because they're not made of matter, they're made essentially of antimatter. Huh. But how does it hold its form like that? It'd have to be such exotic matter that when you pull it into this world, it can't interact. And that also doesn't explain how Taku was able to literally bring the flower box into existence, like how it became real. That's essentially be funneling like antimatter into matter. Like, sure, it's probably possible to do that, but how could a human do that?
ディラックの海とつながっているから、ディソードも負の物質で構成されている。無限に崩壊している存在なんだ。
Entities that infinitely collapse upon themselves. Okay. Yeah, negative matter. Matter whose weight is lighter than zero, impossible to observe. Each and every substance in the universe has its own minimal amount of energy it requires in order to exist and maintain stability. If the amount of energy falls below zero, however, it means that matter will continue to collapse infinitely. Yeah, because like it wouldn't be able to keep a structure. It would essentially have no way to push out and kind of exert itself on the world around it. So it has a negative pressure. It's like a vacuum, an air vacuum. If you've ever seen like the trick with the beer bottle where you put some water in the bottom of it and then you like hit the top really fast, you like you stop the bottle and the water leaps up from the bottom and it creates a cavity of vacuum, and then the water slams back down and can actually burst the bottom of the glass bottle. Essentially these D-swords are like reality or like particle based vacuums. So why are they able to manifest? Like they should just like literally, it's like by definition they should collapse immediately.
だから普段は普通の人間には触れることも見ることもできない妄想のようなものでしかない。
Okay, finally getting some answers.
このディソードこそあらゆるリアルブートのためのショートカット的役割を果たす。
Okay, alright.
ディソードとディラックの海とのチャネルを大きくすることでディラック方程式の空港理論によって対生成が起き粒子と反粒子を作り出せる。
Okay, let's look at all these because those are all new words to me. Alright, so whole theory. The Dirac equation observed by Paul Dirac led to the baffling conclusion that electrons contain negative energy do in fact exist. In order to explain this, the whole theory was founded. A theory which served as to reveal the existence of the Dirac Sea. Yeah, because that's the idea. It's like electrons have a negative charge, but they have a physical like presence too. They're not like they're weird though, because yeah, I can see why you'd be like people would theorize about this, because electrons are bizarre. They're some of the most bizarre particles we have because they exist, but they also don't exist because they're more like a cloud or like it's like when you try to do the math to calculate electrons based on their properties, you can either know where they are in orbit around an atom or what their charge is, like their specific like charge and specific like spin. But you can't know both. And that's because like you have to lock them down into one or the other. And the thing is that they kind of flicker in between. Like that's why like you almost think of them more like a cloud where they have mass, but their mass is non-centrical in a way. Or if it is centrical, like if they do coalesce into a single point, then they are really unstable. So they behave very strangely. The Dirac Sea is impossible to observe in a space consistent of matter infinitely collapsing into itself, not visible to the human eye. However, when a high amount of energy is applied to the boundary of the space, the vacuum interference, the vacuum temporarily collapses, turning those negative electrons positive, and those electrons then pierce through the boundary. By observing that positive energy, one can prove the existence of the Dirac Sea. Okay, so this is what the Hadron Collider would be essentially trying to see, would be these types of particles being observed when you have high energy collisions. The negative electron's positive. But yeah, the thing, a positive electron would be an anti-electron, because if it collided with a negatively charged electron, they would annihilate each other. Okay, so pair production. A phenomenon where both particles and antiparticles are generated upon the collision of a large amount of energy with a nucleus or something similar. The Dirac's whole theory, this is when the vacuum collapses. Conversely, the collision of the particles and the antiparticles results in the annihilation of both particles. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Elementary particles. The smallest unit of matter, but the definition of what constitutes elementary particles is unclear. Certain elementary particles have a corresponding antiparticle with an opposite charge. In the whole theory presented by Paul Dirac, Dirac predicted that antiparticles, positrons, would be generated via pair production in the hole created in the vacuum of interference. Okay, so there's some parts of this that we have been able to more or less, like, confirm is tough because it's hard to know. We've seen evidence that these might be true. So apparently I've known more about this than I thought. I just never heard about the Dirac Sea. But I've heard a lot of the other parts of this. Again, I need to really look into this because I'm really curious.
この粒子がギガロマニアックスが生み出す妄想。世界にとってのエラー。
Right, errors.
そのエラーを現実とするには、作り出した粒子を他人のデッドスポットに送り込めばいい。
Okay, dead spots. So, like, you have to send those particles into a place that's being unobserved, because observation has effects on the quantum. So by making sure that nobody else is looking, you can create matter from antimatter, because as long as it's not being observed by anybody, maybe by you, even you, maybe you can't even observe it, you are essentially creating form.
即座に電気信号に変換され、周囲の人間に共通の認識、現実として成立する。
And then, because they can become observed by others, everyone assumes that they're real, and by giving them definition, they actually manifest. Interesting. That'd be absolutely nuts if you could actually do that. It would solve every problem you could ever imagine.
逆に消したいときは、粒子を送り込んだデッドスポットに、今度は反粒子を送り込み、追消滅してやればいい。
Okay. If one wishes to erase them, like you could undo it. I wonder if you could also delete things that are established as real this way. Right, I remember Senna mentioning that before.
世界の仕組みは3つの数字で全て説明できる。0と1、そしてマイナス1。
0, 1, and negative 1.
ディソードはそのマイナス1を生み出すためのショートカットになる。
Okay. This was all giving me a headache.
周囲の人間に共通の認識となると妄想が現実になるってどういうこと？
例えば、お前が今手にしているガルガリ君。お前にはどう見える？
どうって。水色をしたアイス。
Yeah, yeah.
その水色のアイスは本当に現実だと証明できるか？
Heck, I wouldn't even say that can you prove it's really real. Can you prove it's blue? Have someone look at a stop sign and ask them, can you prove that that stop sign's red? How can they do that? We just all agree it's red. You can't prove that what they see is red is what you see. I mean, what else would it be? It's a crunchy cube. Anyone with eyes could see that. Anyone with a mouth can feel how cold it was with every bite. I would think that'd be a pretty obvious answer.
人は目で見たものを脳が認識して初めてそれが水色のアイスと理解できる。でも、脳が本人の意識しないままに嘘をついている可能性だってあるんだぞ。
Oh, yeah. I mean, isn't that the whole concept behind like the is it cake thing where like people will make cakes that look like real objects? And it's like, how do you know it's not the real object? How do you know it's not cake? How do you know the world isn't cake until you try?
脳が生み出した自分一人だけがそう思い込んでいる妄想かもしれないんだ。
じゃあどうやって現実だって証明するの？
他の人もお前の持っているものが水色のアイスであると観測すれば、それは2人以上の人間の共通の認識となる。
Okay, and that gives it substance.
お前一人だけの妄想じゃなくなるんだ。妄想を現実にするときには、それを逆説的に捉えればいい。
Huh. It's actually kind of funny too, like talking about delusions and reality, and we've been playing Mamiya at the same time, and that's all about delusions and how like they become more real as more people like observe them too. It's like a very similar concept. Huh. To break it down then, a person's solitary delusion could become reality by forcibly showing it to someone, and this could be done by using particles created by a D-sort to attain mutual recognition or something along those lines. So you're using you're using temporary like antimatter to force into a space, into like something that has the semblance of something else that's real. And then when other people can observe it, it locks it in and it can become manifested as a reality. Then did I have that power too?
コズピー、さっぱり。とにかく、この剣は普通の人には見えないの。
Kozupii returned to send his Crunchy-kun, then tottered back toward the road. Then, in front of all the people walking along the road for some inexplicable reason, she suddenly began whirling around her D-sword wildly.
やめ
I shielded my eyes. So those were her true colors. In the end, she was nothing more than a homicidal maniac. Any second now, the road would become a sea of blood. Anyone crossing paths with that colossal blade would have their bodies torn to pieces. With the police station right in front of us, they'd catch her in the act. It would be an open and shut case.
たくみさん、そんなことにはなってないよ。
Why was it so quiet? A whole crowd had just got mowed down by her sword in broad daylight, right here in the heart of Shibuya. And yet there hadn't been a single scream. The cops hadn't even intervened. I slowly uncovered my eyes. Huh. Nothing had happened. Nothing at all. Kozupii, looking a tad embarrassed, was still brandishing her colossal sword. You would think the sword would have struck anyone nearby, or maybe some railing, or even the ground, but no, not a thing was damaged. If anything, the sword was passing right through everything, as if everything else was an illusion. Wait a second, actually I had that backward. It was the sword that lacked substance. The people walking around us weren't bothered in the slightest. They couldn't see the sword.
ピンポンピンポン。
Then how did you attack those other guys?
理想度は妄想の剣なのだ。
Ayase had said something along those lines, that the swords could be only seen by those who possessed the power. Standing next to me, Senna let out an exhausted sigh before taking another bite of her Crunchy-kun.
あのディソードは今は梢の作ったエラーでしかない。周囲共通認識はまだ成立していない。
Okay.
リアルブートしたらみんなに見えるようになるのです。
Okay, so if you want to use it, and you would have to manifest it so everyone could see it. Real booting. That would mean sending particles into the dead spots of surrounding observers, yeah? Not that I knew what the hell the dead spot even was.
ズシャーってしたり、ドガーってできるようにもなるよ。
Can you please explain what anything other than the sound effects? Still, I think I got the picture. Slashy slash was probably for cutting, and smashy crash was for hitting? Whoa. What, was this girl going around cutting and hitting? Did Kozupii seriously do such horrifying stuff like that? And what about me? Did I have the power to do that too? No, I wasn't special. I wasn't a Gigalomaniac. And in the end, I hadn't even been able to obtain a D-sword.
剣は見えたよね。だからそのうち、たくみさんも持てるの。
I'm telling you, it's not good. Even back at O-Front, it just didn't work. Sure, I did see it there, but I had zero clue how to actually grab it.
どうやって手に入れるかっていうと。
Kozupii peered at Senna as if to urge her to do something. Senna let out another sigh.
バイオリズムの上昇によって中脳変影系ニューロンのドーパミンが過剰分泌された時、ディソードは現れる。
Gotcha. That's probably why Shogun did all that. He wanted to get him really stressed to push it. Neuron, also known as nerve cell, a type of cell specializing in information processing. Nerve impulses travel through these cells in order to transmit various types of information, making neurons quite similar to mechanical transmitters.
それは危機的な状況や興奮、悲しみ、憎しみ、笑いなど人それぞれだ。
Yeah, interesting.
ドーパミン分泌量が多ければそれだけ観測しやすくなる。
たくみさん、そういうことなのら。
It was just absurd how wide Senna's knowledge was. It might very well be an outright genius. I mean, with the explanation this detailed, you'd think she'd majored in Gigalomaniacology, if that was even a thing. For starters, I couldn't imagine there being any other girl in all of Japan who could have spouted theories and jargon off the top of their head to this degree. Where on God's green earth had she studied literally any of that? What was with all these mysterious characters accumulating around me? I was dying for an answer. Thinking about it all just wore me out. It sucked just to have half understanding what was going on. But I didn't have the strength to look into it myself because none of these people were normal in the slightest. Grappling with those feelings of bitterness, I tore one last bite of my thawing crunchy-kun.
あ、当たりだ。
Oh, fetch! It said win on what was visible on the stick. Kozupii came back and peered in my hand.
たくみちゃん、すっごいね。
What did you win? More popsicles?
大した運だな。
She's like, gosh darn it!
セナさん、自分も当たりが出て欲しかったって羨ましがってるのら。
そんなことは思っていない。
Uh-huh, I say, Miss Tsundere. I doubted Kozupii could be so easily fooled here, given her ability to read everything on someone's mind.
セナさんはいつも当たりが出ないかなとワクワクしながらガルガリ君を食べてるのら。当たりを引いたのはどれくらい
1割3分7厘。
17.7%. Okay, so yeah, she really had this stuff down to a science. Did she calculate all that every time she ate one? Finishing her crunchy-kun as well, she gave the leftover stick a quick glare, only to let out a quiet snort. She must have lost, or at least her face made it look that way. Alright.
よかったらどうぞ。
I have a feeling this could be a really interesting one. This has been a long episode. Alright, let's do it. Timidly held out my winning stick.
他人に施しを受けるつもりはない。私は自分の可能性を試しているだけだ。
Uh-huh.
でも本心では欲しいって言ってるね。
You're cheating!
あげますよ。僕アイスはあんまり食べないし。
Alright, here we go. I'm gonna regret this. Senna pursed her lips, and then she nervously accepted the popsicle.
ありがとう。
Aww. I was lost for words, astonished. I would have never imagined that I'd get to hear Senna thank me. Likely unaware of my surprise, Senna glanced at me.
お前、優しいな。
Aww. Muttered those few words quietly, then immediately looked away. Was it just me, or had she been blushing a little bit just now? Well, she'd given me an honest thank you, which was enough to make me reevaluate her a little. You know, I originally just thought that she was scary and nothing else, but she actually had a cute side to her. You didn't notice. Uh-huh. Kozupii spun around in place, peering happily at Senna's face and then at mine.
たくみちゃんのこと好きになっちゃったのら。
Oh, fetch. Don't say that.
小杖、何をバカな。
顔がプッポーってなってるの。
Oh gosh, can you imagine that? It'd be like you're actually like having those thoughts buried deep in you that you haven't even acknowledged them in any way, shape, or form, and she's just like blurting them out. You're like, wait, what the what?
うるさい、うるさい。
Oh, did she have any idea what she just said? The mother of all tsunderes, blue-eyed June, his signature's catchphrase. I started to grin out of sheer glee, and sent his figure shot out to my face.
お前もニヤニヤしてるんじゃない。
I had never seen Senna act so adorably agitated before. I was starting to feel a bit mischievous, so I decided to test her.
ガルガリ君は好きですか？
悪いか。
どの辺が？
美味しいだろ。
それだけ。
あと、可愛い。
Who? While she was still sullen, Senna said something that was incomprehensible to me.
かわいい。
Has she just gendered a popsicle? And also, how can a popsicle be cute or even uncute?
アイスがじゃないからな。
Is it a mascot?
ガルガリ君が可愛いんだ。
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's talking about the mascot. Cute.
あのイガグリ頭が最高だ。
Oh my gosh.
抱きしめて頬ずりしたくなる。
Senna, you are an odd duck, and I love it. The expression on Senna's face as she spoke reminded me of a maiden in love. Well, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
それよりお前、
たくみちゃんですよ。
たくみちゃんなのか。
Wait, well, it's just Takumi. The shot's her thing.
違う。シャンはつけなくても。
名前は？
I had a feeling I'd already told her my name before. She'd probably just forgotten it.
西条匠です。
だったら西条、もうこれ以上エラーを作るのはやめておけ。
は？
なんで？剣は 自分の心なのら否定しちゃダメ。コズピーはこの剣のおかげで助かったよ。
Saved? What had happened to Kozupi's past? This question tied in with her wish too, the one where she'd said she wanted to kill.
妄想を現実にする行為にはリスクがつきまとう。粒子とともに追生成される反粒子はディソードにストックされていくんだ。
Oh, okay. So yeah, like you're basically getting antimatter buildup in your sword.
反粒子は数学的に言えば過去へ向かうものだから。ストックすればするほどギガロマニアックスには現在の状態とのズレが発生し、
Okay.
やがてその矛盾により存在としての自己崩壊へ至る。
Oh, fetch. So you could accidentally delete yourself. Whole. Like literally delete yourself. In Japanese, please.
梢もあまりディソードを出すのはやめるんだ。普通に生活していきたいなら私の忠告を聞け。
Okay.
これはお前たちの命に関わる話だ。
It didn't look like Senna was joking. Then again, she wasn't the type to joke anyway.
ましてや西条、お前はディソードなしでリアルブートした。本来ならそんなことできるはずがないんだ。
Oh yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Because normally, like the D sword is the passageway, like the connector. He did it without that. He just manifested it. So he's like, it's almost like he's a living D sword. Maybe that's what it is.
ディラックの海にはディソードを通してしか干渉できないんだから。お前は普通じゃない。奴らに目をつけられてもおかしくない。
Who?
奴らって。
ギガロマニアックスの力を悪用しようとしている連中がいる。
それって将軍。
知らない。誰だそれは。
Kozupii, did Senna just lie?
ついてないよ。
That's so actually kind of handy.
西条、将軍とは。
The sheer chill in her voice sent shivers down my spine. Naturally, I couldn't look her in the eye. She grabbed me by the chest, making it hard to breathe. Ugh, why does she have to be so violent? What had I ever done wrong?
そいつは40代ぐらいの男か。
Oh.
違うよ。小さなじいさんだよ。
Senna immediately let go of me.
そいつもギガロマニアックスなのか。
わからない。でもニュージェネの真犯人だよ。
真犯人だと。
Senna placed her finger on her chin, then began to ponder something while remaining completely still. The air felt volatile. It was hit with a strange feeling of anxiety, and Senna knew something. But what the hell did she know? Who were these people that were trying to abuse the power of the Gigalomaniacs?
あ、そうだそうだ。3人で記念撮影しましょう。ほらあれ。
We're having this really intense conversation about people who are trying to abuse power, destroy the world, killing people in the street. And Kozupi's just like, let's go have a picture together. Aww. Suddenly, Kozua pointed to something as she spoke enthusiastically. She was pointing at the arcade next to the police station. When it came to taking commemorative photos, this was where it inevitably happened. Look at this! Oh, we have our thumbnail. Look at this Taku. And we don't see him very often, but look at this. And they have their swords. Oh, this is great. Oh, what was that? I like hit a button. Oh, weird. Apparently you hit a F11 and it zooms in on the screen. It just does a zoom in on the whole thing. I'm not gonna cut that out because that was weird. It's where it inevitably happened.
たくみさん、ほら真ん中。
いや、僕は。
セナさん、横見てたらダメです。
私はこういうのは。
Yeah, I know, right?
コズピーだって初めてなのだ。時々。
Without once consulting us, Kozupii followed the instructions on the screen and pushed a button after a button. And before Senna and I could get ready mentally and physically, a voice came from the screen.
はい、ポーズ。カシャッ。
Oh, look at that. Gigalomaniac Trio first timers. We had taken the picture we had taken. Oh, yeah, interesting. The swords aren't there. Like, they were there, but they're not there. So she's holding up her hands, holding up nothing. Neither of the D swords were visible. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. Gigalomaniac Trio. That's so funny. I love this. This might be my favorite episode we've ever had. I actually got answers. Stuff's happening. Okay, we're gonna end here. It's not the best time to end, but we're like at 2 hours. If you're still here, freaking crazy. Thank you so much. But how could I stop that? That was insane. Man, some people mentioned last episode, like, oh, you stopped right before the good part. It's like, good thing I did. I don't want to have a 3-hour episode. But yeah, here we are. So, whew, that was cool. Okay. I feel like relieved, like we're getting actual answers. There's some actual explanations going on here. We have like antimatter building these swords, and there's funnels for this the negative space that allows for like negative matter to be pressed into the world as a conceptual matter state, and then you can force it into real world as long as you can make other people observe it. Like a lot of that, it's really like fringe science stuff, but it's kind of cool because there's some teeth to the concept. Not as much as Steins Gate. Steins Gate has a real good teeth to the way they were using fringe science, but this one works too, I think. Very cool. I'm gonna go look up some stuff afterwards. Had a lot of fun. That picture alone, I think, like I said, I think these two characters are my favorite characters so far. Just fantastic, and if they do have routes that we get to explore in the future, I'm definitely gonna have to decide which one of them I'm gonna pursue, because it's gonna be a tough choice. I think they both have a lot of things that I really like, but they also have things that are kind of like, eh. Like, why am I always going for the blue, purple-haired tsundere characters every single time? I need to change that up occasionally. But then also go for the stupid blonde, like the airhead blondes, like. That's the Grisaya was that. It's like, oh my gosh, maybe I just have like types and they're just locked in for me, whatever the case is, but it's fine. I'm having a blast. I'm also like feeling like my brain is shutting down and liquefying, so we're gonna go ahead and just end things here. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of the channel, for being a part of this just adventure. It's so cool to be able to share this with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens in the near future. Now that we're getting into the meat and potatoes of it all, I imagine we're not too far away from pulling our own D-sword, and that when it happens, it's probably going to be really intense, because, like I said, the dopamine needs to be high, and it looks like his dopamine trigger is stress, panic, like he feels like he's about to die. So yeah, interesting. We'll have to see how that all plays out. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, for being a part of this wonderful experience, and for sitting this long for this video. Holy crap. Thank you for being here for still. Like, I'm impressed you made it. So I'd actually like to know, like, if you don't mind, if you're listening to this, like, add an extra comment just saying like, yep, I listened to the end. Like, I watched the whole thing. So I'm almost curious to know how many people actually did. And versus how many people maybe skipped to like parts that they were really interested to hear my reaction to, which is be sad because I had a few moments where like I kind of like put some pieces together that had nothing to do with what was happening. So yeah, just be curious to know like what your experience is with a longer episode like this, because I've found that I get a lot less interaction with super long videos. So I tend to keep it within an hour because it feels like when it gets longer than that, there's some people who love it, but there's also a lot of people who I kind of lose along the way. So it'd be good to just have like an impromptu like knowledge of like, what was your experience watching this episode? Anyway, regardless of that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, for being a part of this wonderful adventure, especially patrons and members. You're amazing. I don't deserve you. I'm gonna do my best to make sure that you feel like your support's going to a worthwhile like stuff. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you spending your time here regardless, because like, hey, you leave a like, a comment, you watch the video, like even just watching a video is a big deal for me. So like for YouTube side of things, obviously, but just for me personally, I'm just happy you're here. So thank you. And I appreciate you. And until next video, watching me up, see me next. I'll see you there.